I'm Dr. Lana Ruvvy, aka Dr. Ruvvy, and today I'm going to be answering some of your questions about graduate school.
For seniors applying to grad school, what's the best timeline to start preparing applications?
Starting sooner rather than later is always better because it gives you more time to get feedback on your applications. The first thing to work on in September is your CV or resume. A CV or curriculum vitae is essentially a longer version of your resume that explains the different roles and responsibilities that you've had. This is where you would include your education, so what major, minor you're getting, any posters or presentations that you've had where you talk about the research that you've done, any papers or other types of publications you might be currently involved in or have published, volunteer activities, anything that you're doing by way of science communication, like having this YouTube channel, and all other skills that you want to communicate to people who are reviewing your application. There are lots of templates online for finding a good CV or resume format, and the important thing is to make sure that you're looking at templates for the types of programs that you're interested in. So for example, if you're applying to a Ph.D. program in research, like the Translational Neuroscience or Behavioral and Cognitive Neuroscience program at Wayne State, they're really going to care about those research experiences. Whereas if you're applying for a clinical psychology program, they're going to want to see not just those research experiences, but also any clinical experiences that you may have had, like shadowing a physician or another clinical psychologist, working in a hospital or other medical setting, or even working with children at a camp, for example, or as an after-school tutor. Then, after you've prepared your CV or resume, you'll want to start working on your personal statement around October. Your personal statement is a summary of who you are and what ideas you have, as well as your goals for your training. So this isn't just a restatement of your CV or resume. Here, you really want to show who you are as an individual, what you have to gain from training in the program that you're applying to, and what you can also contribute to that program and to the field that you hope to go into. Finally, you're going to need letters of recommendation. At a minimum, you want to ask your letter writers for a letter 4 weeks in advance of your application deadline. So if your applications are due in December, you'll want to make sure that you have that request in by November. If you're sending out those requests in November, you could also include copies of your CV or resume and your personal statement to help your letter writers tailor their message towards what you've been focusing on in your application. However, if you already know your letter writers and you're pretty sure of who you're going to ask, you can always ask them earlier. So say it's September and you want to reach out to your professor from last semester, go ahead and do that. We get a lot of requests for letters of recommendation, so the earlier you ask us, the more time we have to develop a really strong letter for you. You also want to make sure that you're asking your recommenders that they can write you a strong and supportive letter of recommendation. Nowadays, we read so many letters that have basic standard comments on a student's professionalism, organization, etc. But you really want someone who can speak about you as a unique individual and make that recommendation jump off the page. So make sure that you're talking to somebody who knows you well, not just someone who you've had limited interactions with.
Are there any common mistakes you see applicants make during the grad school application process? If so, what are they?
So one mistake, which comes from the anxiety that we might perceive about admissions, is applying to programs or labs that you wouldn't really ever be interested in actually being a part of. Don't just apply to programs to increase the numbers and increase what you might perceive as your probability of being admitted to a program. Remember, if you're pursuing a master's, this is going to be 1 to 2 years at minimum of your life. And if you're pursuing a PhD, this is probably going to be more around 5 to 6 years of your life in that lab, at that university, and in whatever city or state that you might end up. So make sure that you actually would want to go if you got an offer for that position. The other mistake that's really common in applications is, again, like we talked about with CVs and resumes, just restating your CV and resume in your personal statement. What you want to do is really connect those experiences together and show how they've made you the person that you are today.
What advice do you have for writing a personal statement or a statement of purpose that really stands out?
Show us what your unique way of thinking is and how you'll be an innovator in the field because you have these unique lived experiences and personal insights. However, when it comes to those unique lived experiences, make sure that you're telling a story that's authentic to you and also something that you're comfortable in sharing with the world. If the story is not something that you would tell a friend or an acquaintance or even another classmate, then maybe it's not something you need to be sharing in your personal statement. Remember, your truths and your experiences are yours. You're not required to share things with other people if it doesn't feel authentic or comfortable to you. And you shouldn't feel like you have to just to make for a captivating or a shocking personal statement. Be yourself, and we'll know and feel that connection to you.
How important are GRE scores nowadays, and should students still spend a lot of time preparing for them?
This is a great question, and it's one that requires you do a little bit of homework before you consider taking the GRE. So, there are a number of graduate programs that no longer require for the GRE for admissions, like some of our programs here at Wayne State, for example. So do your research and see if that test is necessary for you to take. However, there are some schools that still do require the GRE. The weighting of your scores differs depending on the type of program that you're applying to. So for example, when I applied to the Translational Neuroscience program here at Wayne State, I'll be honest, I didn't get the scores that I necessarily was hoping for on my math, the reading, and verbal components. However, I did really well on the writing section, and that was something that was weighted heavily when they were using the GRE at this institution at that time. So you can do some research, talk to students, talk to program directors where you're applying, and learn more about how they weight the GRE and whether or not it's even a requirement, because you might not need to take it.
How can students improve their research experience or resume in their final year?
This is a great question. It might require some patience too. Remember when we said what's the right timeline if you're a senior? It might mean that you start with your applications process while you're a senior, intending to go to grad school the next fall. But it could also mean that you take a gap year. So, if you're a senior and you haven't gotten any research experience yet, or you're looking to build up new experiences in the field that you hope to go into, you might consider getting involved in a research lab or other setting in your senior year and continuing for an additional year or two after you graduate to get some more of that really critical experience. Regardless of what stage you're at, whenever you're looking for a position, I would recommend searching job portals at the university you're at or other surrounding hospitals, universities, nonprofits, and research institutions to see what opportunities are out there. You can also go to faculty pages. So for example, online at Wayne State for our Department of Psychology, we list all of the faculty members in our department, and there are short descriptions of what our research foci are, so you can learn more about whether or not the work we're doing aligns with your interests. Some faculty members have websites for their labs so that you can check out whether they're hiring or welcoming volunteers. If you can't find this information, you can always send us what's called a cold email. Just reach out and ask. It never hurts, and we're always happy to provide guidance and support for students who are seeking research experiences.
What makes a strong grad school application, especially for neuroscience programs?
Research definitely makes for a strong graduate school application, especially for neuroscience programs. Programs are getting more and more competitive every year, so having research experience shows that you have some of the foundational skills to set you up for success when you come into grad school. Of course, you don't have to know everything, right? That's why you're doing more training as a graduate student. But you do want to make sure that you're getting involved in research, whether it's at your college or university, a local hospital or nonprofit organization, or other type of institution. If you're worried about how you'll balance your time with classes and other work obligations, you can consider taking directed study credit if your college or university offers it. This essentially gives you protected time that you earn credits towards your degree for to be in a research setting and to gain that critical experience. When you find a mentor, you want to make sure that there will be opportunities for you to receive credit for the work that you've done as a co-author on scientific manuscripts that originate from the work you've contributed to, and potentially opportunities to present the work you've contributed to at scientific conferences through a poster or an oral presentation. You don't need funding or opportunities to travel all around the country. You can present at conferences even at your own local institution. And again, this can give you a great opportunity to build up your experiences and build up that CV or resume. One more thing. If you want to pursue a degree in neuroscience as a graduate student, you don't have to have majored in neuroscience or psychology as an undergraduate. There might be core course requirements that programs need you to have, like taking basic biology or statistics courses. However, in our translational neuroscience program, for example, here at Wayne State, and in our behavioral and cognitive neuroscience program, we've had students who have come in with all different degrees and backgrounds. And in fact, those different educational journeys make our programs and our students much, much richer in the knowledge and experiences that they bring the work to the field that they're working in. So just know that if you haven't majored in neuroscience or psychology, no worries. It's not too late to change your path and to pursue the things that you're passionate about.
How do you manage the stress and workload of senior year while also applying to grad school?
As a senior, you probably have so much on your plate. So make sure that you start early and you carve out time each week to work on your applications. If you carve out an hour to 2 hours every week on the same day at the same time, you'll be able to spread the workload across multiple weeks and even multiple months so that you're not struggling at the last minute come December to get your materials ready and your applications submitted. Again, the earlier you can start, the better, and you should start this plan at least by September of your senior year. If you're feeling stressed or rushed for time, don't be afraid to take that extra year to further develop your application. And remember, if you don't get in the first time, learn from the feedback that you've received and grow stronger and more resilient for the next application cycle.
If I don't get into grad school on the first time, what would you recommend as next steps?
Don't give up. Keep pursuing what you are passionate about. Graduate school is so competitive, and a lot of times it's not any sort of diagnosis or decision on you, Rather, it's just that another person might be a better fit for the very specific area of work being done or the goals of that program. So, look into other programs around the country, around the world, in places that you'd consider and be comfortable living, and try to see if there are other labs, mentors, or programs that might be a good fit for you. If you know that the program or the lab you've applied to is a great fit, then apply again. Use that next year to gain more experience in work directly related to that program or to that lab. You might even inquire if the person whose lab you applied to or other faculty member in that program have openings for a paid or voluntary research assistant so that you can get a better feel of what working in that space would be like. Again, ask for feedback. If you haven't gotten admitted into a program, you can learn from the people who interviewed you about areas that you might be able to improve on your CV or resume and throughout your application. And finally, if you didn't get other eyes on your application the first round, make sure that you do the second round. Don't be afraid to ask friends, family members, other professors and mentors in your life to review your materials and give you their feedback. Everyone's here to help support you towards your goals, and we can all be stronger and more resilient together.
What are the differences between a master's and a PhD?
A master's and a PhD really differ, one, in the length of time it takes to complete those degrees. So a master's degree might take a minimum of 1 to 2 years, while a PhD can take on average from 5 to 6 years. A master's degree can be a stepping stone towards a PhD, or it could be a terminal degree, depending on what your goals are. While a PhD will likely be a terminal degree, unless you plan to get another sort of degree in a different field in the future. Master's degrees can move you towards careers as a medical science liaison, other science communication types of roles, work as a data scientist or a coder, and roles even as a counselor, social worker, or a licensed psychologist. Roles in a PhD can help you become a clinical psychologist who sees patients and conducts research, a PI or principal investigator of a research lab like me, or somebody who teaches at a university as a professor. Another difference between master's degrees and PhDs or doctoral programs is that master's degrees typically require that you pay tuition, while there are a number of doctoral programs that are funded such that you actually get paid to be the student. One way that you could pursue a master's degree and have the costs covered is by doing it through a company or organization that you might be working with. Some companies will pay for you to get your master's degree so that you can gain new skills that you can bring into the company. This usually requires that you stay at the company for a certain number of years to pay back that investment that they've made in you. This is a great opportunity if you, say, have graduated from your undergraduate degree and have achieved a job role in a career path that you're interested in continuing on, where you might be able to then ask about what opportunities they have available to support your master's training. Like we said, many PhD or doctoral programs are funded in some capacity so that you get paid for doing work as a researcher or as a teacher in roles like graduate teaching assistantships. Importantly, some doctoral programs offer pay across 9 months and some offer pay across 12 months. Usually this depends on whether or not you're based in a main campus, in a college of liberal arts and sciences or the like, or if you're on a school of medicine campus, where they tend to have 12-month appointments as opposed to 9-month appointments.
How many schools should I apply to?
This is a hard question to answer. Now, other mentors and people that I've worked with have advised students apply to some 20 to 30 programs. However, this comes with a high cost. It's not just the money that you might pay if schools have application fees, but it's also your time if you're customizing each application to those different schools or programs. If I'm being honest, I applied to one program. It's not necessarily what I recommend other people do, but it was what was right for me at the time, my family, and the people who were important to me in that decision-making process, because I found one place and one lab that was the perfect fit for my goals. I decided I would just give it a try and see what happened and maybe expand my search in the future if it didn't work out, but for me it did. I know other people who applied anywhere from 5 to 10 to 15 programs, and some folks who only got one admission, but that's all it takes, right, to get that degree. You just need one yes. So apply to however many programs feels authentic to you and is feasible with your investment of time and money.
What kind of mentorship or advising should I expect in graduate school?
This is a great question, and it's something that you need to ask yourself about, right? If you are someone who is a really hands-on learner and wants a lot of one-on-one mentorship, you need to make sure you find a mentor or advisor who's able to provide that to you. If someone has a big lab, that might mean that their time is split across multiple people at different training phases. This might mean that perhaps you don't work with that advisor as often one-on-one, but maybe you work with a postdoctoral researcher or a more senior graduate student who helps you to get the lay of the land, learn new techniques, and develop your research. If that sounds like a good fit for you, then that's great. But if you want that hands-on mentorship, then maybe you need to find an advisor who has a smaller lab or more capacity for that one-on-one time. This is something to learn more about in your interview process. You'll not only get to meet with the mentor or advisor and hear about what their mentorship style is, but you'll also get to meet with other students and employees in the lab. Make sure you ask them what that advisor's mentorship style is like. Ask them how often they meet with that advisor. And ask them how often group meetings are held in the lab as well. If the individual you're speaking with is not directly mentored or supervised by the advisor, ask them who is their direct mentor or supervisor. Interviews are not just about the program or the advisor learning about you. It's an opportunity for you to learn about them. And go into the interview prepared. Make sure that you examine, what is my style as a mentee like? What do I need? Do I need verbal or written feedback? Do I need regular meetings and hands-on oversight? Or can I take instruction and really work effectively on my own with milestones for feedback built in? I'm wishing you all the best of luck with your graduate admissions this cycle. Remember, you can and you will find a program and a mentor who's right for you. Even if it doesn't happen this cycle, stay resilient and keep persisting towards your goals. Thanks so much for watching, and if you have more questions about the grad school admissions process, leave them in the comments below. Make sure that you like this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel, as well as to our Brain Blooms newsletter, so that you can continue getting more content from our graduate school series. Thanks for watching, and stay resilient.